Hello and welcome viewers, I'm Pia and you're watching the Africa Brief on NewsX World, and here are news making headlines this hour. Former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, observing elections in Guinea-Bissau, has called the military-led takeover a ceremonial coup after briefing with President Bola Tinubu in Abuja. Nigeria says that Boko Haram and ISWAP have carried out recent mass abductions, but analysts have laid blame on local bandit gangs. Hundreds of children and staff were kidnapped in separate incidents. Some have been freed while others remain missing. An Anglican priest has been seized in Kaduna. He's been killed after a month in captivity. His wife and daughter remain held as kidnapping surge across northern Nigeria, prompting the government and international concern to mount. Days after a coup in Guinea-Bissau, ruling junta has appointed a transitional government. Ousted President Umaru Sissoco Embalo has fled to Brazzaville, while new leader General Horta Natam has called on ministers to combat corruption and drug trafficking. South African police have detained 4 men at Johannesburg airport, allegedly en route to join Russia's military. Authorities stated that a woman facilitated their recruitment. The suspects will face court for violating foreign military assistance laws. Police in Tunisia detained opposition figure Chaima Issa during a protest, enforcing a 20-year sentence. Critics have called this as authoritarianism. Now, she and other politicians urged unity and further protests, while rights groups have condemned the crackdown. 4 employees in Mali of Barrick Mining were released a year after being detained amidst a dispute of the country's new mining code. The release follows a 2-year agreement between the company and Mali to resolve issues at the Lulo Gunkoto Gold Complex. At least 19 people have lost their lives and 82 have meanwhile survived as a boat capsized on Lake Mayendombe in the DRC due to strong winds destabilizing one of the engines. Authorities have stated that overcrowding and unsafe vessels remain a recurring issue. Well, viewers, those are the headlines and our top focus. Former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan has now condemned the recent military takeover in Guinea-Bissau, calling it a ceremonial coup. He's expressed concern after soldiers appeared on state television claiming control of the country, following heavy gunfire near the presidential palace just days after tumultuous national elections. Listen in to what was said.
What happened in Guinea-Bissau? It is not what some people would say palace coup. It was not a palace coup. We know coups. Real coups, palace coups we know in Nigeria. This was not even a palace coup. I was looking for the appropriate word to describe. I couldn't get it. I described it as a ceremonial coup. It was a ceremony conducted by the head of state himself. That election was concluded. Tallying of the results was almost concluded. In fact, the results are known. And the key thing is that the winner of that election must be announced. Well, they cannot kick out the military with force, otherwise people will die. But let us know the winner of the election.
All right, there, viewers, you heard what exactly the former president Goodluck Jonathan had to say. He's branded the coup that has taken place in Guinea-Bissau as a ceremonial coup. This, of course, follows a briefing that was done by President Bola Tinubu in Abuja. Of course, countries in and around Guinea-Bissau, they're monitoring the situation very, very closely. Remember, we've been discussing this. The elections have been rather tumultuous. The opposition party did enjoy a lot of support. There are some analysts who've pointed out what exactly former President Goodluck Jonathan has also described that the coup at large has been a sham, because the general that has taken over now was in fact a close confidant of former ousted President Umaro Sissoco Embalo, who himself fled to Senegal. Senegal as well yesterday did express their concerns with regards to the coup, the democratic backsliding that has taken place. Meanwhile, joining us on the broadcast is Mr. Ayanuga Olugbenga Paul, public affairs analyst from Lagos in Nigeria. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. Very crucial statement coming in from former President Goodluck Jonathan. His statement follows a briefing with President Bola Tinubu in Abuja. He's called the coup in Guinea-Bissau as a ceremonial coup that has taken place. What do you think is in store for the people of Guinea-Bissau at large at the moment? Is the current status quo of military rule to continue, or are we likely to see the return of Umaro Sissoco Embalo?
First and foremost, before I heard former President Goodluck Jonathan's view yesterday, I had already said it on your news bulletin yesterday that it seems like a sham coup, that it was the incumbent president that seems to have invited the military, having seen that he is losing the election with information at his disposal already. And it was not quite long after I made that statement on your news bulletin yesterday that I came across the video of former Nigerian president also affirming the same thing. Don't forget, he was on ground as an election observer in that country and was caught up in the quagmire of the coup takeover. So, unlike the president has said in that video you just played, that the military cannot be forced out because it will lead to a lot of carnage, a lot of unnecessary loss of life, especially of the civilian population. But I think international pressure would help in making sure that the military will do the rightful thing. And the only rightful thing at the moment is to ensure that the winner of that election is announced and installed as new president. Any attempt to bring back Embalo through the back door, which I see as the plan on the long run, might backfire and make the state descend into a state where there will be rebel forces, arming up to defend their territory against the government forces. And Guinea-Bissau is so fragile that I don't think it can handle that pressure. So the best thing, with proper sanctions, with proper little bit of threat and carrot dangling from international communities, because many of these army generals have properties stored away in other countries of the world, like France, like UK, like America. And if you threaten them where it touches them, where it touches their children, they will do the rightful thing and ensure that the election results are announced and the proper winner is also installed.
Absolutely. You did mention international pressure should be mounted up until now, and we've discussed this earlier as well. It's the African Union that has till now suspended Guinea-Bissau's membership after the coup. But we are yet to see any action from other countries across the world. So I request you to stay on with us. We're tracking further updates as far as Guinea-Bissau is concerned. We're learning that Guinea-Bissau's ousted president, Umaro Sissoco Embalo, has now arrived in Brazzaville in the Republic of Congo, following the military coup that toppled his government on the 26th of November. This has come days after elections were held in the country. Details of his arrival remain scarce. We, of course, learned earlier that he had fled to Senegal, but now he's arrived in the Republic of Congo, which in itself is a unitary semi-presidential republic under a dictatorship, as many would call it, of Denis Sassou Nguesso. Meanwhile, the military has installed in Guinea-Bissau Major General Horta Inta as the new transitional president. Tensions continue in the country with sporadic clashes reported between security forces and demonstrators. The November 23rd elections have been suspended amidst this particular turmoil. Still with us on the broadcast is Mr. Ayanaga Olugbenga Paul. Interesting developments coming in as far as the fate of the ousted president is concerned. But interestingly, it seems that the people of Guinea-Bissau are now taking matters into their own hands. They are rallying. There have been protests, there have been clashes as well. Could we see this situation spiral out of control and these clashes then augmenting and spreading? Is that a possibility of taking place, or with the military now in power, could the crackdown continue?
Well, there is an African adage that says you can't beat a child and still tell the child not to cry. It's one or the other. So you would expect more of this protest from the people of Guinea-Bissau. And if the army do not manage the situation very well, like armies want to do in Africa, they want to use maximum force, which might lead to the deaths of protesters, and that might escalate the tension, and you begin to find people forming themselves into rebel forces to take chunks of territory away from government control and whatnot. And before you know it, international players who will benefit from the sales of weaponry, from the mining of minerals on the ground, from whatever they can benefit in, will start coming into the dynamics, and before you know it, spiral out of control. And to avoid that, the earlier the military junta reaches the room and does what is necessary in terms of what are the people clamoring for, I think the military general who is in charge now can decide to be on the good part of, on the good side of history, rather than being a villain in the history of the country that is unraveling at the moment. Because 100 years down the line, those who did well will be in the history book. Those who did well otherwise will also be in the history book. So the earlier they are able to look at this issue holistically and be on the side of the people, on the side of peace for Guinea-Bissau, the better it will be for everyone else. And of course, seeing the president going to Congo, you will see that rivers flow along the same path. So, like they say in birds of feather, you can't expect anything less or more from such a group of people. But I just hope that while he's there trying to pull the string from out of the country, he will also think about posterity and give correct instruction that will lead his name in the good side of the record books.
All right, sir. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking out time, of course, sharing your analysis, your insights of the prevalent situation in Guinea-Bissau. You're yet to see how this plays out, of course. It's just been a couple of days since the coup on the 26th. On that note, viewers, we're shifting focus to Northern Africa, Tunisia in particular. We're now learning that Tunisian police have arrested opposition leader Chaima Issa during a protest in the capital, enforcing her 20-year prison sentence. Now, Issa has been vocal in her opposition to President Kais Saied's government, denouncing what she calls politically motivated charges. This particular arrest follows a court ruling on Friday that sentenced several opposition figures, business leaders and lawyers to prison terms of up to 45 years on charges of conspiring to overthrow President Saied. Critics are calling the ruling a sign of growing authoritarianism in the country. Issa, while speaking before her arrest, stated that her message was one of resistance, urging Tunisians to defend their freedoms and their collapsing economy. Rights organizations, including Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, have condemned the sentences, calling for their immediate annulment. The political crackdown is part of a broader effort by Saied to suppress opposition, as analysts are pointing out. More arrests are expected, including that of opposition leader Najib Chebi. This, of course, marks one of the largest political prosecutions Tunisia has seen in years. And many of those charged are now in exile. Listen in to what Issa had to say.
رسالتي أنه ضد هذا المشروع التدميري لتونس تقعد ديما موجودة. الشارع لازم ديما يكون نبضه حي، الشارع ديما يدافع على الحريات ويدافع على الاقتصاد نتاع بلاده اللي دمر. أنا ما عندي حتى حاجة خاصة بيا، أنا ما عندي حتى منفعتي لبلادي وللأجيال القادمة.
Joining us on the broadcast is Major General Sudhakarji, International Relations and Defense expert from New Delhi. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us. There were more than a dozen opposition leaders, lawyers and businessmen. They were all accused of attempting to overthrow President Saeed and were handed sentences ranging from 4 to 45 years, including opposition leader Jawar Ben Barak, as well as leaders such as Isam Chebi and Ghazi Chauchi, who received jail terms of up to 20 years. They've been detained since 2023 crackdown. One of the maximum sentences was given to businessman Kamil Latif, the 45-year sentence, while another opposition politician, Kam Turki, received a 35-year term as well. Of course, this arrest of Chaima Isa during a protest follows these rulings, the sweeping crackdown on the opposition that has taken place. The alleged offence, the charges, as I mentioned, was a plot to overthrow President Saeed. But in your assessment, what's really going on behind the scenes? Is this a move by President Saeed to hold on to the power that he has?
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you. I quite like the last part of your question, but that is what our viewers need to understand. We have to go back in timeline to 2011. I'm sure our audience are aware of the Arab Spring, how it started. Consequent to that, many countries had undergone a lot of changes, and especially Tunisia has actually undergone a lot of changes. So please allow me, if you have time, I would like to touch upon, reflect upon very quickly on key important issues. Firstly, the current president, Kais Saied, he has consolidated power and dismantled most of the democratic institutions established after 2011 Arab Spring Revolution. This has to be understood by one and all. And this is leading the observers to classify the government as authoritarian or as a hybrid regime. Although it is supposed to be called as unitary, democratic, presidential kind of a government, but it is actually hybrid. How it is hybrid? Just allow me very quickly, I'll touch upon the key points. You see, the power consolidation that has taken place under Said. Said is the president, elected president, Kais Said. It was originally elected in a democratic election in 2019. However, in July 2021, this has to be understood very clearly that he suspended parliament and he dismissed the prime minister. He began ruling by decree in what critics called a self-coup. He later passed a new constitution through a widely boycotted referendum that significantly expanded presidential powers and weakened the judiciary legislature. This is to be understood because this is catching like wildfire in the adjoining countries also, because the global order has to take note of all this. Otherwise, it's going to become beyond control. The second issue that I wish to share with the audience is now the elections and the opposition crackdown. The president, he was re-elected in October 2024, and that was largely, I would say, it went uncontested, uncompetitive in nature, and it was marked by very, very low marginal voter turnout. The figure I have is around 28%, and many potential opposition leaders and the candidates, they were either disqualified deliberately by the government-controlled electoral commission, or they were imprisoned on various charges before the vote. This actually was a turning point in the democratic or the hybrid system of governance. This led to suppression of freedom. What is this suppression of freedom? It was central point of suppression of freedom was the human rights and the fundamental rights. Human rights organizations, they have reported time and again. And to the best, I've been to this country, by the way, and they have reported time and again and highlighted significant crackdown on the political opponents and journalists, civil society, and many individuals, they were arrested for criticizing the government. There is a decree law 54 on cybercrime. is frequently used to silence dissent, and the freedom of expression is non-existent as of now. Therefore, the international standing again has to be, as a concluding remark from my side, is that the international observers and the democracy indices, such as, let's say, Freedom House, no longer rate Tunisia as a democracy with free and fair elections, a stark change from its status as the only fully democracy in the Arab world from 2014 to 2020 has undergone a significant change. So therefore, to respond to your question, they are in for a very troubled and disturbing phase in the stable environment which had actually witnessed a couple of years after the Arab Spring in 2011. And if it is not intervened substantially and meaningfully by forces who have control over the area, I'm afraid the things may go out of hand. Instead of these couple of names that you have listed out, there may be many more people who will be put behind the bars.
All right, sir, I request you to stay on with us as we're tracking further developments, this time from Mali. We're now learning that 4 Malian employees of Barrick Mining have been released a year after they were detained in the capital, Bamako, amidst the dispute between the company and the government itself. The two sides had been in a standoff over the implementation of the West African nation's new mining code that gave Mali a bigger share of revenue from gold miners as gold prices surged to record high. Now, according to the Canadian miner, it had reached an agreement with Mali's government to resolve all disputes over the Loulo-Gounkoto gold mining complex after 2 years of negotiations. The agreement included Mali releasing the 4 employees from prison, where they had been held since November 2024. Still with us on the broadcast is Major General Sudhakarji. I'd of course like to provide some more perspective to our viewers as far as this dispute is concerned. I mentioned earlier that there was a surge in gold prices that had prompted the government of Mali to attempt to renegotiate new terms with the miners to increase their share of mining profits. Therefore, they brought about this new code in 2023. Then, of course, operations were suspended at the mining complex due to the export bans and the state control measures. Interestingly, before the suspension, in the Barrick's operations in Mali produced $949 million in revenue in the first 9 months of last year itself. It accounted for about 14% of the company's gold output as well. There were rulings in mid-June, in July as well. July ruling, in fact, did not grant bail to the 4 employees who were in prison. But now there seems to be an agreement between the company and the government, which has been finally settled. So, in light of all of this, what in your assessment has prompted this settlement? Is it the fact that a suspension had also stopped the operations for so long? There were less export controls that was then impacting the economy of Mali?
Bang on, bang on. I must compliment you, Pia. You have answered the question. In your question lies the answer. Because Mali is going through very, very extremely turbulent times. And the central point, beyond what you have asked, because since you have already answered the question, it is the economy of the Mali which is going through a very fragile status now. So therefore, rather than, it is called penny wise, pound foolish. Rather than aiming for something big, you're losing the basic livelihood, your basic fundamental requirement. Now, what is the central issue? Because while we are talking, I must compliment NewsX World. You have your viewers, they are sending me messages also. So let me explain very briefly. You see, the gold price in the world has undergone change between 2023 to 2025. So when the prices go up, in mining sectors, you have the contracts made with the government, with private parties. In Mali, the contract had been made, and that's why this term is being very, very frequently used. Retroactive, dealings. Retroactive dealing means, what it means is that while the deal or an agreement for extraction or mining of gold would have taken place prior to 2023 at a prevailing rate in the market, at a prevailing rate, which was low. Let me just also share the rate. It is, I think, 4,284 was the enhanced rate. Yes, 4,284.80 per ounce. And it had posted a gain of 2.97%, while the standard gold futures traded at 4,254.90 per ounce with 2.20 increases, reflecting the commodity super cycle environment that incentivized governmental fiscal policy adjustment. So when the price of a commodity, particularly a rare earth metal like gold, actually goes up in a very tight time frame, what happens is the fiscal management policies undertaken by the government. This turnaround took place in 2023. There was a revised mining code. It was a decisive shift towards asserting greater government control over the mineral extra revenue. So whatever was the price coming, based on the price rise of or increase of price of the gold, that amount should have rightfully come to the government. Now that was not coming. Therefore, there was a stalemate. Therefore, there was imprisonment of the people who were trying to negotiate. So what it actually tells the world order is that traditionally mining concessions they are facing scrutiny under reformed regulatory frameworks, number one. Therefore, the international operators, they must navigate the complex negotiations that balance sovereign revenue objective with the operational continuity. The point that you actually underline is that continuum or continuity of the operation of mining of the gold mine in the gold mine is always beneficial for the government, for the people, local people, as also the world order, than to suspend all work and lose out the revenue, both for the government as also the employees who were employed in the mines. This is what it means. So I totally endorse what you have said in your question. That is the answer that should be gone ahead with by the people who are dealing and the agencies who are involved in it.
Absolutely. Interestingly, Barrick has agreed to pay Mali 430 million US dollars to settle this particular dispute. That did take quite an ugly turn in between as well, because Mali had issued arrest warrants for the CEO of Barrick, accusing him of money laundering, financial misconduct. So it seems that things are turning out for both the company as well as the government now, with the operations resuming. Major General Sudhakarji, I'd like to thank you for taking out time, of course, sharing your analysis and insights on NewsX World on these very crucial developments. On that note, viewers, we're shifting focus to some tragic developments coming in. We're now learning that at least 19 people have lost their lives after a boat capsized on Lake Maindombe in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The vessel was traveling from the village of Kiri to the capital, Kinshasa, when heavy winds disabled one of its engines. Provincial authorities say 82 people survived, but the number of missing passengers is still unknown. Local officials have stated that the boat may have been carrying up to 200 people, far exceeding safety limits. Riverboat accidents are common in Congo, where many vessels are outdated and safety regulations are often ignored. Officials have called for stricter rules to prevent future tragedies. With that, viewers, due to paucity of time, it's a wrap on the Africa Brief. We will continue to track all of these updates very, very closely. On that note, a quick short break.
What we can do